Hi YouTube. Um, Today, my name is Sean, and welcome to my channel. Today I'm gonna talk a little bit about this channel and medical editing, but also my life in general. Just let you know a little more about who I am and what this channel is all about. Um, it's definitely about medical editing and my job, but I'm into so many other things, and this channel is very young. Well, it's not young. I want to talk about that too, but it's new. It's new in a certain sense. Um, well, because these videos are new, and so I'm seeing other YouTubers out there, and I'm learning what they're doing. And one thing I'm picking up on is that if I want to make lots of videos, I have to do it about what I'm passionate about, right? Because passion is what people want to see. They want to see what you're interested in on YouTube. Um, and I love my job, so that's why I started talking about medical editing first. It's something I'm passionate about, and um, I can talk about medical editing forever. Like, I was making a list of videos that I could, just bang out really quickly if I needed to. And I was listing topics, just possible titles, and I was doing it by hand on a notebook, and I had to flip the page over and keep going. And after I realized I could make hundreds, probably hundreds of videos right now, just based on what's going on in my head um, on medical editing. So I have a lot to say. The thing is, I have a lot to say about other topics too. um, I'm a passionate person and I have many interests, so I don't want to pigeonhole myself. So I just wanted to spend the first couple minutes of this video saying, not every video will be about medical editing. I do want to tie other things in, and let my audience find me, right? I think everyone on YouTube is unique, right? Maybe that's a little crunchy hippy dippy of me to say, but I think everyone's unique in this world. And part of the joy of YouTube is getting to know everybody, what makes everybody unique. I've been on YouTube for many years, um, actually, and that's sort of what I wanted to talk about earlier about how this channel isn't exactly new. If you look at when this channel was created, it was created in 2006, which is kind of a crazy thing to think about, but this is one of the earliest YouTube channels ever made. Um, when I was in high school in 2006, I was a senior in high school, and I'll never forget that I was I was on the train. I think I had just made this YouTube channel, within months or weeks, and then of this event, and I was on the train going. I don't remember exactly where I was going. Somewhere into the city from the suburbs where I grew up, and I remember seeing a newspaper article saying that YouTube was worth $1 billion, something like that. Some news article, and I remember going, "Whoa, YouTube!" And I remember thinking how strange that name is, YouTube. It's sort of not a. Back then, this was in the days when startups had all sorts of wonky names, and it was before that trend of like removing the last E. And see, as an editor, I notice all these trends in names, right? So for a while, all the startups were cutting off the last vowel in the last syllable of their names. So you had Tumblr, which cut off the E, and so it became TUMBLR instead of LER, Tumblr. I think there was like all sorts, Stitcher, whatever. For a while, that was the trend, is modifying the name so that it was shorter with that sound. And YouTube started even before that. So like YouTube, a YouTuber, these weren't things. No one was posting daily on YouTube back then when I got this channel. And it was a few years later, I remember I actually started uploading a few videos. I gave up pretty quickly, but this was in 2009. And I remember I was in college at that point, and I'd had this channel for a while, and I had just been watching YouTube, not uploading anything. And I got inspired, and I remember I got inspired by, of all people, if anyone on here remembers Shay Carl. I'm not going to say the name of his channel because I think it's a little in poor taste now. But Shay Carl and his family, they were the original family that uploaded. Shay Carl uploaded once a day, every day. And at that time, that was bizarre. No one was doing that. Shay Carl it was like, oh my gosh, how do you have the time and energy? And he just did it. And it was seen as this radical idea to upload to YouTube every day. And a few years later, in 2009, 2010, he was huge. He was taking over, and his family was booming, and this was the early days of vlogging. They kind of invented or pioneered that space of daily vlogs. So that's the era of YouTube that I was inspired by all the way back then. This was late 2000s. So I tried a few times, and then, other things in my life took over, and my career went elsewhere, and I let it go. But YouTube's always been in the back of my head, so I figured I'm at a point now in my life where I have a lot of experiences that I want to share, and a lot of fun stories, and a few life changes have happened that made me think, you know what? This channel is going to be 20 years old next year. And by this channel, I mean Solguud. That's how I pronounce this. Solguud. Solguud. It's going to be 20 years old. I started this Solguud channel in 2006. So I want to make something of this. I've had this channel for so long, and I've never done anything with it. It's just sitting here. It doesn't take too much effort for me to upload short little vlogs, and I've been doing it the past couple days. It's really fun. And as I said, I have like potentially hundreds of ideas. I'm wondering if maybe I should just upload more, because uploading once a day, it's not enough for me, at least. I have so much to say that maybe I'll start uploading more. That's one idea I've had. But the point is, I want to fill this channel so that when it turns 20 years old next year, I can look at it and say, hey, look, there's something worth watching on this channel. That's pretty cool. I'm kind of interested, and maybe this will be an experiment that will help other YouTubers. But I'm kind of interested to see what would happen, because again, I haven't really done anything with this channel, and it's going to be 20 years old next year. I want to see if it's possible to, or just what happens when I launch this on such an old channel that's been dormant for so long. Maybe there's some like interesting little thing in the YouTube algorithm. Ooh, my nails are dirty from gardening. I was working on my garden here. But maybe there's something in the YouTube algorithm that will boost this channel because it's so old. We'll see. I don't know. As an editor, that's the sort of thing that I think about. I think I've mentioned in previous videos that I'm a medical editor now, but I've been an editor and I've done writing projects for many years. And I've had many different jobs. Most of them included writing in some form. But one time, for a little while before the pandemic, I didn't have any job at all. And life is hard, and working sucks, to be blunt. And there was a time when I was really burnt out. I had a really tough job in like 2018, and I did a little stint as an IT consultant. It was really an interesting job. I helped nonprofits migrate from their on-site servers to the cloud using Office 365. And I helped many, many nonprofits do that. It was super interesting to understand how all these different organizations worked, how IT services work. And at the same time, I was learning about how to build websites. I had been building websites here and there, just little WordPress blogs. And I started monetizing them with affiliate links, and that took off. So eventually that IT job didn't last, and after that I sort of had this moment that I think a lot of people in America, we all have, where you're sort of like, man, this working 9 to 5 till I'm 65, is that really what life is about? And I was like, no, that can't be what I do. So I decided, screw it. I'm never going to have another job. These websites that I had built were bringing in money. So I went out on my own, and I lived off those websites. It was very, very meager income. I mean, I wasn't making much money at all. They're very small websites. We're talking couple of $100 here and there per month. Very meager. I was living in I was sharing an apartment. I had roommates. I had a very cheap bedroom, and so I didn't need much. I needed only maybe $1,000 a month. Kept me going. And then, but the point of bringing that into the conversation is I was writing those websites. Those websites were articles where I was reviewing products and monetizing the information with affiliate links, right? So it's still writing, even though it was tech and building stuff using IT, or using, WordPress and, yeah, I guess IT. It was more webmaster stuff. So it was online and it was tech related, but it was writing. I was writing articles. So the point is, I've done lots of different kinds of writing, lots of different kinds of editing. And one of the things you think about as a writer and an editor is, what's it going to be published on? What platform is the art or the writing going to be published on? And how is it going to be presented to the audience that it's targeting, right? Because one of the things when you're writing, when you're editing, it's this perennial problem where you write something nice and then your editor publishes it in a terrible way, right? Maybe the layout looks bad. I've written hundreds of essays on politics because I'm passionate about politics. And the website that I used to publish those essays on used to advertise male performance enhancement drugs on the side banner of the website. So someone would be reading about my fairly dense political opinions, and then next to it would be some sort of goofy looking male performance enhancement drug advertisement. So I've written, so the platform can determine your perception of the writing, because if you're reading my opinion and then there's this goofy ad next to it, it sort of changes, as a reader, it changes how you approach the content you're consuming. So the platform matters. And when I'm putting these videos out, to bring it all back, printing these videos out on YouTube, I'm realizing the YouTube platform, I have to learn it. But the main thing that I've learned, watching YouTube for 20 years, watching Shay Carl, watching hundreds of other YouTubers, I've watched YouTubers come and go many times through different eras of YouTube. The one thing that they all have in common that brings them all together is that they're real. Their fingernails are dirty and from digging in the mud, and they share that. They don't try to polish it. I mean, a lot do, some do, but not the kinds that I like. I like the real YouTubers who are sharing life. They're passionate. They're not afraid. They're themselves, and they And yeah, they share what they care about. That's the main thing. This platform seems to reward that. So I'm thinking, how useful is it going to be if I'm only sharing about my job? I mean, I can share tips about how to get a medical writing job or medical editing job, and I will. And I think those tips are useful to some people. But the audience for that isn't so large. I mean, I'm not a job coach, and I find my job interesting, but not everybody does. I think what people really care about is how you feel about your job. And I have a lot of thoughts about how I feel about my job too. So maybe that's more what I'll share. Um, I guess there is a question about whether I should be talking about my job too much. There's an element of professionalism that I want to maintain. Um, so I don't want to talk about all my clients, and I don't want to talk about my employer in detail. Obviously, I don't want to share any confidential information. Um, but I think there are a lot of things I can talk about otherwise. So we'll see. Again, I'm only starting this off talking about my job to just get the wheels turning. There's so many other things I do. For instance, the scarf. I got this in Peru when I'm a big hiker, and I hiked the Inca Trail a few years ago with one of my best friends. I go on lots of adventures like that, and I would love to share them. They're really cool. I've also done a lot of hikes around here in Pennsylvania, checking out old Native American sites in the woods. That's a big hobby of mine, is hiking to ancient Native American villages along the Delaware River and the Susquehanna River, and checking them out. I mean, these places have been populated. We're living on land that's been occupied for thousands of years, and um, there are village sites in the woods up and down the banks of the rivers around here where you can still see the stones in the forests that used to be the old fire rings and fire pits. Um, so I love that. I love ancient history and archaeology. Um, that has really very little to do with medical editing, right? So it may not fit with this channel, but we'll see. I want this channel to be about me. And, if it's purely about medical editing, then I shouldn't talk about me as much, right? But I know myself that if I'm only talking about medical editing and not sharing my own story, I'll get bored. And I know YouTube, um, I know the audiences prefer to learn about me, right? It's sort of about people and their experiences. I guess that's what vlogging tends to be about. I don't know if I want to be a vlogger exactly, but people like to get to know you. So I don't think it would make sense for me to start this channel off as like a purely informational channel related only to some niche topic like medical editing. I mean, I'll have a lot of that content, but I want this channel to be about me. So lastly, to finish this off, I'll share briefly what the name means. What does Solguud mean? And Solguud is a triple pun. So first of all, I came up with this name, Solguud, when I was in middle school. Classic, middle school name that you never let go of, right? I remember when I was in middle school is when people started getting email addresses and getting on the internet and starting their what is it, AOL? Oh yeah, America Online account, and chatting in chat rooms. And my first AOL screen name was Scourge. I think my cousin had wanted to start a band, and he thought, in middle school, this is all middle school, he thought Scourge was a cool name. And I spelled it Skirj. It's like, wow, that's pretty metal, right? Pretty punk rock. So, but I liked it, so I kind of stole it from him, and I named my AOL account after him after that. But Scourge was, I don't know, it felt too negative, right? A scourge. Something that's a scourge is a bad thing. And I wanted more positivity. So when I started an email address instead of Scourge, I decided to go with Solguud, you know? And at the time I was like, Solguud, man, you know? Like Solguud, it's a pun on it's all good. And I thought that was really fun. I was like, it's all good. And I still do. I don't, obviously that catchphrase, this was before Breaking Bad, if anybody watches that show. So one of the main characters is Saul Goodman, which, before that show, this pun, Saul Good, man, was kind of a silly, dopey pun that was very much like a low-level meme in the culture. Memes didn't really exist, but it was sort of like a, just almost like it was a dad joke, is what it is. It was a dad joke level joke. After that show, it just became part of the culture. And so now when I tell people what Solguud means, they often think of that TV show. But that wasn't my intention. It really was just, it's all good, man. It's all good. So that's one of the meanings. And the second meaning is much simpler. It means good soul. I want this channel, not this channel. I want myself to have a good soul. And I was raised both Catholic and Hindu at the same time. My mother is from India and my dad is Irish Catholic from Northeast Philly. So I was raised in both those traditions, and one thing my parents really taught me well was the importance of being a good person, having good morals, and having in religious terminology, that means having a good soul. So I really want to have a good soul. I want to live a good life, and I want to bring happiness and joy and positivity to the world in general. And I have a lot to say about what that means. I have a degree in philosophy. So I was raised Hindu, Catholic, and then I studied philosophy. So I've thought a lot about ethics and what it means to be a good person. I've read Aristotle, Socrates, I've read all the ancients, I've read Kant and the moral imperative and the golden rule. I've read all sorts of things about ethics and be really, that's something that means a lot to me. So soul good, like good soul. That has a huge meaning. And then the third meaning of this triple pun is actually somewhat unintentional. At the time when I chose this name, I didn't know that someday I would live in Sweden. But lo and behold, about 10 years, it was 2013 to 2015. So more like 7 or 8 years after I started this channel, I moved to Sweden. And in Sweden, Solguud, my pronunciation is probably terrible, but Solguud means, it means sun god. And my middle name in the Indian language my mother speaks means ray of light, like sun ray. So the sun, the ray of light from the sun, that's my middle name. And so I thought sun god, it's pretty much a perfect meaning for someone with a name like mine, Solguud. So those are the three meanings. And Solguud is also ancient. Worshipping the sun is something that humans have been doing for millennia, since we, probably since we evolved, right? So there's something ancient about that meaning, about that, that reference to the sun god. And I like that stuff. So those are the three meanings of Solguud. I guess I'll end this video by introducing another character in this channel that will hopefully take on a lot more meaning in the future. So I want everyone to say hello to my sidekick here. His name is Abe. Say hi, Abe. Yeah. You want to say hi? What do you think? Yeah. Good job. Glad you're saying hi. So that's Abe. I call him Abe, just because that's cuter, and he's an adorable cat. Abe is one of the friendliest cats I've ever met. He lives to snuggle and eat, and that's about it. I found him on the streets of Philly, and we've been best buds ever since. So you'll probably see a bit more of him in the future. I guess I'll leave it at that. Yeah, so that's what this channel is about. It's not all about medical editing or medical writing. Come here. It's really all about Abe, isn't it? Isn't it, Abe? So we'll see what happens. Thanks for tuning in, and talk to you next time. Bye.